What if every person in America could only own one home ever? At first, it sounds like it could work. No more billionaires buying 10 beach houses, no more corporations grabbing entire neighborhoods, no more regular families losing bidding wars to some guy who already owns 6 rentals. Day one feels like a victory for normal people. The rule is simple. One person, one home, that's it. If you already own more than one, you have to sell the extras. Vacation homes, rental homes, investment properties, empty houses sitting around for profit, all of them hit the market. In the first week, listings explode. Houses that were rentals show up for sale. Investors try to unload properties fast before prices drop. Bidding wars cool down. For buyers, it feels like oxygen finally came back into the room. But then the rental market starts screaming. Because here's the catch. A lot of homes are owned by landlords, and those homes are rented by people who either can't buy or don't want to buy yet. If those landlords are forced to sell, the house doesn't magically become a rental forever. It usually becomes owner-occupied. That helps buyers, but it shrinks the number of rental homes. A family renting a house gets a notice that the property is being sold. The law helped people trying to buy, but it punched people who needed flexibility. Apartment buildings become the big question. If one person can only own one home, what counts as a home? If an apartment building has 80 units, can one company own it? If yes, big companies shift toward apartments and single-family rentals collapse. If no, the rental market gets hit even harder because large-scale housing becomes almost impossible to manage. Either way, lawyers start eating like kings. The rule sounds simple until America tries to define it in court for 3 straight years. By month 3, housing investors start changing tactics. They can't own multiple homes directly, so they look for loopholes. They use family members, trusts, shell companies, partnerships, weird contracts, anything that technically keeps the title away from one person. The government starts cracking down. New paperwork appears. Buying a home becomes more complicated because now every sale has to prove the buyer isn't secretly stacking properties like Pokemon cards. At the same time, construction slows in a weird way. Builders still build homes for people to buy, but rental home construction takes a hit. Build-to-rent neighborhood, where companies build whole communities of rental houses, become much less attractive or vanish completely. That matters because America already has a housing shortage in many areas. If builders think the rules make returns weaker, they slow down. By month 6, the country splits into winners and losers. First-time buyers in some areas win big. They get less competition from investors and more homes on the market. Regular families who wanted one place to live finally have a better shot. But renters in tight markets get hammered. Fewer rental houses means higher rent for what remains. People who move often, young adults, divorced parents, seasonal workers, and anyone rebuilding their life gets less flexibility. Home ownership becomes more available for some people, while renting becomes more impossible for others. Some towns become more livable. Others lose a chunk of the money that kept them alive. It turns out a beach town without rich second home owners can be healthier for locals, but also poorer in cash flow. By the end of year 1, home prices are lower in places dominated by investors. But the whole housing system is more rigid. Owning gets easier in some markets, but renting gets harder or impossible. Banks become more careful with mortgages because housing is no longer treated the same as an investment machine. Real estate stops being the favorite casino for people with too much money, and that creates another problem. If homes are no longer a major investment asset, fewer people treat them like wealth-building tools. That can calm down speculation and make housing more affordable. But it also changes the American dream. For years, owning a home was how regular people built wealth. Now, it becomes just a place to live, not a way to move up. 5 years later, America looks very different. Moving to a new city becomes harder. People stay in places longer because finding another home is more complicated. Job markets get stickier. A nurse in Ohio may want to move to Texas, but if buying is the only realistic option, that move becomes a much bigger risk. The final result is messy. You can force investors out of houses, but you still have to answer the harder question. Where do renters go? Who builds the next home? And what happens when life doesn't fit neatly into one address?